The story begins with the fact that we see a young boy standing alone in the mountains. At the age of 16, he was already very strong and constantly improving his skills. He was so strong that he could split a mountain in two with one blow. This boy's name was Zhang Yohan. He was one of the 9 emperors of Kunlun. During Zhang's training, someone shouted at him. Someone said that his sword skills had become even better. It was Qi Yao, the daughter of one of the 9 Kunlun emperors. He was pleasantly surprised, because she was his bride. They had known each other since childhood and everyone always said that their relationship would one day be written in history. Qi Yao ran up to him and hit him on the shoulder. Blood began to flow from Zokan's shoulder. He began to shout loudly and ask why she did this, because they love each other. Yohan asked Qi Yao why she wanted to kill him. The girl he loved with all his heart turned out to be a completely different person. He held out his hand for her. He woke up and cried out that he was no longer the same as he was 800 years ago. A woman asked him if he was having any terrible dreams again. He told her not to worry, it was just a dream. It turned out that it was his mother who was worried about him. Her name was Lin. She tells him that since childhood he was very weak and sickly, and his illness confined him to bed. This woman was not Johan's real mother. Her real son died 3 days ago. She gave Johan to drink medicine. After his rebirth, Lin was only a stranger to him, but in 3 days she constantly worried about him as if she were her own son. He does not remember ever seeing his own mother in a previous life. But now in another body he felt real motherly love. Lin asked Johan who Qi Yao was, because he had been saying her name in his dreams for the 3rd night in a row. Someone started shouting near the palace. It was Maid Yuner. She was shouting to the crowd of men. She asked the crowd what they were doing on the grounds of the Jade Palace. One of the crowd hit the maid in the stomach. She screamed in pain and fell. The man was a prince. He asked what right the maid had to prevent him from entering the palace. He began to threaten her with death. Lin ran out of the palace and began to ask the maid what had happened, what the screams were. She ran over to Yuner and started helping her up. Lin started talking to the prince and telling him, even though he is a prince, he has the right to barge into the Jade Palace just like that. The prince began to say that now, by order of the queen, the rooms of concubine Lin and the 9th brother will be in the Purple Palace, and the mistress of the Jade Palace will now be the prince's mother. Yuner began to worry that the queen wanted to expel them so quickly, but she agreed with her order. Lin said that she and Johan would move to the Purple Palace tomorrow, but someone in the crowd called out to her. It was the prince. He said that his mother wanted to be in the Jade Palace tonight, so they had to move to the side palace now. Lin began to explain to the 8th prince that his 9th brother is now in a very bad condition and it is already deep night outside. The prince says that many people have died in this world, but not every person is worthy of pity. He thinks that if his 9th brother is very sick and weak, then why should he continue to live in this world? Lin's mother is very impressed by what she heard, by what her brother is saying about his brother. She tells the prince that this is the 9th brother. How can you say that? Johan's voice was heard from behind. He asked Lin not to convince them to stay, they are leaving right now. The prince was surprised that his brother came out. Lin ran up to her son and began to ask why he went outside in such a cold weather. But Johan said that there is no point in convincing them, they will return to the Jade Palace sooner or later anyway. Lin cried and looked at Johan. Johan and Lin set out on the road. Every mortal must follow orders. They did. Johan had never endured such humiliation in his past life. Now everyone understands that Lin has lost her status and now they will probably never return to the royal palace. In today's cruel world, only strong people endure and get what they want, and weak people obey them. Weak people who cannot achieve everything have only one path to death. They reached a village and entered a house. Johan remembered that tomorrow would be the day of the sacrifice, and asked his mother if he remembered correctly. He said that at tomorrow's sacrificial ceremony, he would open his martial arts seal and thereby become a master, proving his power to everyone. The divine martial seal is a qualification given to humans by the gods to practice martial arts. Those people who do not discover it will never be able to develop true energy and become truly strong people. At the age of 10, the 8th prince discovered the divine martial seal and is now considered a Hwajia-level young martial artist. Lin thinks to herself that her son is already 16 years old, and he has not yet managed to open the divine battle seal. She believes that after the age of 16 it is almost impossible to open her. Even if he does, he has already lost his best years in martial arts and he will not be able to achieve much in his life. But despite all her thoughts, she tells Johann that she believes in him. Lin told her son that it was time to rest, because tomorrow was a difficult day for the ceremony. He agreed and said that she should rest too. Lin suddenly remembered that she wanted to ask who Chi Yao was, whom he called in his dream. But Johann said that it was delusional and she only heard it. The mother replied that he should never say that name again, not even in his sleep. She added that Chi Yao is the one who united the 9 kingdoms, created the Central Empire and rules all the lands of Kunlun. Lin told Johann that it is not respectful to call the empress by her name, and if suddenly someone hears this, then the one who called her just by her name will be executed. But Johann assured his mother to be calm and that this would not happen again. He thought to himself that now he would only be her nightmare. Every year, all districts must pay tribute and pay taxes to the First Central Empire, and the person who rules all districts is called Prince of Districts. The sacrifice ceremony is a national celebration in Yunyu. During this celebration, children receive their sacred mark. One of the brothers told Johann that he was already 16 years old and even that he would be present at the sacrifice ceremony, he still would not receive his long-awaited mark, but only to be ashamed. The 6th prince also joined the conversation and added that thanks to the king, 9 children were born and each of them was unique, but 8 of them had already received their marks, unlike Johann, and he was already 16. Zokan stood and simply listened, although it was very unpleasant for him to hear it. The 6th prince angrily asked why he was still alive, what was the meaning of his existence. The 8th prince said that even though they had royal blood running through their veins, it wouldn't be difficult for them to get the mark, but it might be difficult for commoners, and added that Johann might not be the son of a king at all. The 6th prince replied that heard about such a thing, and that Johann was simply dishonoring their royal family. Johann mentally calmed himself, and didn't waste his strength until he was strong enough. In a past life, his father gave him a white stone for his 16th birthday, but he did not expect that he would have it even after 800 years. Johann wondered if the stone had any connection to his rebirth. At this time, the commander-in-chief of Yunyu County announced that the sacrificial ceremony was starting right now. The 3 girls started ringing the bells. The burly man swung his saber and chopped off the pig's head. And at that moment, tags started flying out of the big tank. Everyone was shocked by this beauty. Someone shouted loudly that it was flying sacred marks. A tag flew to the little boy and he was smiling happily. This was General Shue's youngest son. He was only 6 years old and he had already received the tag. This label belongs to the 4th grade. This boy has a very wonderful and successful future ahead of him. General Shue joyfully shouted that it was his son who had received the mark and invited everyone to a celebratory feast that he was holding in his son's honor. A lot of sacred marks flew out. All the parents rejoiced and shouted loudly that their children were receiving sacred marks. But Johann stood in silence with the hope that he would receive the sacred mark today. He was getting nervous that the ceremony was coming to an end and he hadn't received his sacred mark yet. He looked at the stone given to him by his father. And here is this last label, but who will get it? Everyone held their breath and she flew to Johann. He felt a surge of strength and inspiration. He thought to himself that he rejoiced and thought that the sacred mark had finally appeared to him. He had been waiting for it for quite a long time and was almost disappointed that he would receive it, but in the end it was his. Everyone whispered that this is the 9th son of the king and whether it is even possible to get a label at the age of 16. Everyone knows that Zoken's health has been very poor since childhood, so it's not easy for him. Johan's brothers were amazed. They discussed whether such a thing was even possible and whether it did not seem to them that he had received his mark. A short old man entered the tent. He said that the 9th prince had received his mark. The queen, who was sitting in this tent, ordered him to be brought to her. This man humbly bowed to the queen and went to Johan. At that time, Johan was talking to his mother. They were happy together that he had received a label. She was telling him that she was proud of him. The old man approached Lin and Johan, greeted him and said that the queen was calling her to personally determine to which class the label belonged. Lin asked in fright who had called them. Johan understood that the mother was very frightened. He began to understand that the queen must be very cunning. But then he calmly called Lin and they went to the queen together. The queen said that the king wanted to be alone this year for purification, so she is overseeing the ceremony this year. She turned to the commander-in-chief and asked if he had already determined which mark the 9th prince received. He replied that the Bible of sacred marks contained all the marks of martial arts masters, but none matched the mark of the 9th prince. The queen noted that if the label cannot be identified, therefore she has no class, and this is because the prince is already 16 years old. He will not be able to achieve anything great, so in order to preserve the purification resources of the royal family, he will only be issued 1 bottle of liquid to clean the cerebral cortex. But Lin anxiously asked the queen why Zhuchen only had 1, if the 7th prince had been given 12 bottles of cerebral cortex cleansing liquid when he received his mark. The queen countered that the 7th prince was given a 7th grade tag and was only 3 years old. How could Lin compare them? One of the brothers remarked that the 7th brother, son of the queen, he had inherited a very strong bloodline from the queen and no one in Yunyu County could match him, and added that the stability and prosperity of Yunyu County depended solely on the 7th brother. He added that the tip of his 7th brother's finger is much more precious and important than the life of the 9th brother. Lin is still worried and says that the 8th prince was given 4 bottles of cortical cleansing liquid when he received his holy mark. But the queen noted that the more talented the prince, the more resources he will receive, but considering that the 9th brother is the weakest of all the brothers, he will receive the least amount of bottles of liquid for cleaning the cerebral cortex. Lin anxiously wanted to add something. But she did not have time to finish and the queen interrupted her and said that if concubine Lin contradicts her, then she will fail again. Johan thought to himself what defeated again meant. Lin became anxiously silent and did not know where to go from shame. Johan thinks to himself that mother has gone through a lot of difficulties in life and he should put in a lot of effort to help Lin become stronger. The queen's concubine called Johan to her to collect his reward, for the sacred mark he had received. He walked over and picked up his bottle of cerebral cortex cleaning fluid. Then he approached Lin's mother and said that it was time for them to go back. The queen then told Johan that in 3 months there would be an assessment of the royal family and he should work hard to reach the stage of bone marrow flush and out of the channels. But one of the brothers asked the queen if it was possible to do it in 3 months. The 9th brother needs at least a year to achieve the result. But Zoken thought to himself that they should wait. He will not disappoint them. Johan says that he passed the first stage in self-cultivation. With this he opened the chi pool, but he was prepared that this body is very weak, so he thinks about opening the pool the size of an egg, but it is not enough to store true chi. He believes that the size of the pool will increase as he cultivates. He will simply focus on establishing meridian practice. Johan is eager to prove to everyone that he can reach the stage of marrow cleansing and channel breakthrough even in less than 3 months, although he won't do it today and become a warrior. He is training with the last of his strength. There is only 1 step left to the first meridian. He encourages himself that he will succeed. Putting his last strength into his dream, he purposefully steps towards his goal. And almost managed to do it. He exhales with a happy soul. Johann has reached the stage of purifying the bone marrow and breaking through the channels. Most likely he is now at the initial level of the Yellow Kingdom. In general, martial arts practice was divided into the Yellow, Black, Earth, and Heaven realms, and each realm into 7 levels: beginner, intermediate, advanced, dawn, final, and final. After building the meridians and learning true Qi at the primary, intermediate and advanced levels, the strength in the body increases. Many warriors at an advanced level could discover the bull power technique. But even after that, those who reached the level of dawn, the warriors received the power of the 4 bulls, which was 4 times stronger than the previous ones. Johann says that he should reach the advanced level in 3 months. He will prove to everyone at the annual evaluation that he is worth something, and most importantly, he will work until he saves his mother's honor. Mother Lin entered the house and entered the room where Johann was training. She looked at him and told herself that he was so focused on improving himself that she didn't want to disturb him and distract him from his training. And Johann continued to train and did not even hear that Mother Lin entered the room. Lin thinks to herself that she can only provide him with better resources and a better environment as much as possible. After thinking about it, she quietly closed the door and left. Johann continued to train. He trained not only physically, but also spiritually. During his training, he kept thinking. He says that after 9 circulations, the amount of true Qi keeps doubling. Zhuochen uses exercises from the Ming Emperor's writing. The absorption speed is quite fast, but it is still very slow for him. He says that if he had a spiritual stone, his practice would be much more effective and faster. And here he remembers what a spiritual stone can mean for him. He put his hand in his pocket. He took the stone out of his pocket and looked at it, thinking that it could be his spiritual stone. Suddenly, something strange began to happen. The stone began to glow, and so did the mark on his forehead. And so his spirit stone began to act and show what exactly his stone means. Zhuochen thought to himself that he had never seen symbols like the time and space spinel. He had injected true Qi into the white spinel many times in the past, but he had never seen any symbols. He did not understand if it was possible that this was not real Qi but some natural force, in which case his mark might have some natural origin that corresponded to this spinel of time and space. In nature, 90% of spiritual stones have no individual essence. However, there are a few with special attributes. For example, Flame Spirit Stone, Lightning Strike, and Blood Spirit. All crystals can help warriors with holy marks who develop the same attributes faster. Johann says that he knew a lot in his past life, but never heard of the spirit flint of time and space. But after all, humans cannot control time, and even gods must obey these rules. And suddenly his spiritual fireplace became active. Zoken stood surprised and did not understand what was happening. He began to fall in a confused state, not understanding what had happened. And suddenly the stone began to drag Johann into its midst. Johann moved to some incomprehensible place and began to fall. He landed face down on the ground. Having knocked out a couple of teeth, he says that it is good that he has become stronger. If his body was as weak as before, then he would not have survived such a fall. Sitting on the ground, he did not understand where he was, what was happening, and how he ended up there. Johann saw a book and a scroll. He did not understand what it was and why it was there. He wanted to pick it up, but he couldn't. Zoken made almost all his efforts. Using all his strength, he still could not lift her. Zoken doesn't understand why it doesn't open. He couldn't even move it from its place. Then he decided to see first what was written in the book. He looked at the book and realized that he had seen something like this before. When Johann touched her, she activated and began to glow. As it turned out, it was a transcript of the holy monk Zayuma. He was the last owner of the spindle of time and space. He had the same sacred mark as Johann. Once upon a time, the holy monk Zayuma said that since ancient times, only 2 people had such a mark, and if you count Zoken, then 3 people. This monk died more than 300,000 years ago. Zoken says that the place he is in now is the inner environment of his spinel and time flows there in a completely different way, namely that 3 days in this world are equal to 1 day in the real world. This means that Johan now has a lot more time than others, which is just great. Suddenly he realized that he had missed a page in the book. On this page it was written that you need to reach dawn level to open the scroll. I wonder what will be written next in this book. Zoken was happy, because he thought that many different exercises could be written there, which could be related to the practice of time and space. He should reach the dawn level as soon as possible to find out what is there. Suddenly, he felt his stomach rumbling from what he wanted to eat. I tell Johan that with the spinel of time and space, he has a much better chance of reaching an advanced level in just 3 months, so you can take your time, and he interrupts his story by talking about how hungry he is. Sitting down at the table, Zoken thought that after he became a soldier, his usual diet was not enough. What should he do now? Lin tells Johan that now that he has received his holy mark, he should not eat ordinary food. She gave him a glass and told him to drink 10 drops of blood, but if he needed more, Lin would find as much as she needed. Johan sits surprised and asks Lin how she was able to buy 10 drops of blood, if 1 drop is worth 10 silver coins, and 10 drops is 50 silver coins, where did she get so much money? And their concubine said that Lin exchanged her favorite golden hairpin for 10 drops of blood. Lin looked annoyed at the concubine. She told her son that it didn't matter how she got the money, the main thing was that as long as he was a true warrior, she would support him, even if she had to sell all her valuables for that. Johan assured his mother that he would do everything possible to become a real warrior. He would protect his mother. But in his mind he was worried because he couldn't tell her that he had already become a warrior. It happened too quickly. If the princes found out about it from the queen, they would definitely find a way to frame him. But Johan is still very weak, he should become stronger. Concubine Yun asked Lin if it was true that a warrior should not only drink pills but also develop martial skills to develop meridians. Lin replied that it was true, but even the lowest level exercises cost more than 500 silver coins, but they couldn't afford such exercises yet, especially since the queen definitely wouldn't give him access to the library. It seems that they only have one option, but Yun asked Lin again what she was going to do: contact her family. But they had stopped communicating with them 3 years ago. She was not sure if they would help the 9th prince. But Lin, with tears in her eyes, replied that for Johan's sake, she was ready to kneel down and ask for their forgiveness. The concubine noted that Lin was not to blame for what had happened. 3 days have passed since the conversation between Lin and the concubine. Johan continued to train every day. He improved his strength and learned new exercises every day. He trained on rocks. Johan made himself stronger, he improved his body, every part of it. Training in the inner space for 9 days paid off. He finally learned the first movement of the dragon and elephant hand. The technique is perfect for him at the moment, but he needs to improve his body. The chi pool is already full and he can develop a new meridian, but he does not know where to get another bottle of liquid to clean the cerebral cortex. Suddenly, the concubine came to him and asked what he was doing there. His mother was looking for him everywhere and could not find him. Johan said he just went out to get some fresh air and asked Yun if she felt better. She sheepishly replied that the maids couldn't afford medicine, so she was worried that the marriage would take at least 3 months, but she quickly changed the subject and told Johan that he was a very good man, but they should go to their mother, because she already waited. Today they go outside the palace. The prince asked where they were going. Yun quickly answered that they were going to Ningshan. They had not seen each other for a long time. Probably he was very happy that they would go to them today, but it was not clear who Ningshan was, but from the words of the concubine it was clear that Zoken has a special relationship with her. They set off and arrived at the village of Lin. But isn't the mother's last name Lin? Zoken thought in surprise. If the mother is from a noble family, then why don't they support her? Why does she continue to suffer abuse in the village of Prince District? Something must have happened. Lin tells Johan that she's sure he's looking forward to meeting Ning Shan since he's already received his sacred mark and now they'll have more common topics to discuss and make sure he doesn't miss his chance. But Johan does not understand who Lin Ning Shan is. He does not understand the behavior of Yun's mother and sister at all. Someone approached Liney and told her to follow him, and the ninth prince could do whatever he wanted while he waited. Yun suggested Johan to go together to Ning Shan. She is most likely now at the training stadium where all the young people from the Lin family are studying, he agreed. They went to the stadium together. Zhuochen thought that the Lin family was considered big in Yunyu County. Arriving at the stadium, he enthusiastically watches how other soldiers train. He observed what exercises the soldiers performed. A rare force is released. This is the Sword Kingdom annexed to the heart. Her martial arts skills have reached the intermediate level of the Yellow Kingdom. It is much better than the 8th prince. Several young people in the crowd began to discuss that this is the 9th prince. He also received the sacred mark, but what can he achieve when he is already 16 years old, and he also came to see Ning Shan. He is not ashamed. And another one of them heard that the prince loved Ning Shan's sister very much. What face will he have when he finds out about their engagement? Ning Shan's sister and the 7th prince are the best couple. Johan overheard the conversation between these two boys. He clenched his fist in anger. Lin walked into the palace and a man was already waiting for her. He said that due to the fact that the 9th prince had already received his sacred mark, he should go to the pavilion of Prince District Village, where the collection of books is kept. Why concubine Ding came to him. Turned out to be Lin's older brother. She begs him to give her a skill-enhancing book for his nephew, the 9th prince. He hit the throne hard with his hand and stood up abruptly. He tells Lin what right she has to discuss their family ties with him. 3 years ago he also came to the village and also begged her for help. Why didn't she save her nephew Chenyu? But Lin only said 3 years ago. He told her to go, because the family broke off relations with her. He added that Lin should not return to them anymore. Lin suddenly fell to her knees and cried. She didn't understand how her brother could be so cruel to her. She asked to meet her father, but the brother replied that her father is now in Omen Ridge. She can't meet him right now, and then he added that the 7th prince's engagement will soon take place and Ning Shan. The brother told the 9th prince to stay away from Ning Shan. Lin said that he knows how much Johan likes Ning Shan, how much it will hurt him when he finds out, and asked her brother why the 7th prince. The brother replied that the 7th prince is a genius. No one in Yunyu County can match or even catch up with his skills, let alone the 9th prince. The engagement of the 7th prince to Ning Shan will bring great benefits to the Lin family. She didn't understand if Ning Shan was even ready for this. She asked her brother if he thought she would be happy to marry just to benefit the Lin family. But the brother firmly assured that it was solely Ning Shan's wish. In the stadium, everyone admired Ning Shan and shouted how beautiful and blessed she was. Ning Shan walked up to Johan and said that they had not seen their cousin for a long time. She heard that he had obtained the sacred mark, but he added that the queen said that his mark had no class, so it was no match for the cousin's mark. Zhuochen was shocked by what he heard. He realized that Ning Shan is actually his cousin, but he still likes her very much. Ning Shan told Johan, the fact that he received his mark at the age of 16 was a blessing from heaven, and despite this, he would not have time to achieve good martial skills, but the sacred mark would help him strengthen his body. He would become healthier and will be able to live like normal people. She said in her mind that she was very close to Johan, but they were from 2 different worlds and he should stop pursuing her. Johan answered her that he is working hard and will try to catch up with her. Ning Shan understands that he will still run after her, so she decided to tell him everything directly. She told that she is currently in the intermediate level of the Yellow Kingdom, which is very close to the final level, and as for the cousin, he is most likely not will be able to reach even an intermediate level. He should train step by step. He should not make inappropriate requests and take on more than he can do, otherwise he will suffer from his actions. Zhuochen thinks that Ning Shan is very arrogant. Why did he like her then? Ning Shan adds that she hopes for her cousin's understanding. She tells him that in 3 months, when the prince of the districts is done with the purification, their betrothal to the 7th prince will take place, and mentally she is sure that Johann has given up and given up. The crowd listens mesmerized to their conversation and says that now the conversation is getting more and more interesting. Will the 9th prince pass out from what he heard? If he does, it will be very funny. Zhuochen looks into Ning Shan's eyes and chooses the right words to answer her. He turned and started to leave, but he shouted that he congratulated them and now they are twice as connected. The crowd did not like this answer, they expected something more epic, maybe he would have lost his mind. Ning Shan thought irritably, how could he react calmly to such news, and she shouted at him that he didn't even want to know the reason for this engagement. But Johann calmly said that he would attend the ceremony to personally congratulate them on their engagement, and if there was nothing more to say to her, he would like to go and find his mother. He left the stadium towards the palace and met his mother. He did not understand why she came out crying. He ran up to her and began to ask what had happened, but she reassured him that everything was fine and added that it was time for them to go back. Elder brother Lin came out of the palace and brought out a skill-learning kit called Thai Formulas, although it is not even an intermediate level, but the kit will help Zhuochen reach the stage of cerebral cortex purification and channel breakthrough. It should be enough for him. After all, they share the same meridians, so he can take 2 bottles of cortical cleansing liquid with him. Lin told Zhuochen to thank his uncle, but now he understood why Lin was crying. She must have endured so much humiliation to get all this. But he just turned around and told his mother that it was time for them to go. They should not suffer humiliation from the Lin family. The crowd did not understand what was happening, who the 9th prince had identified himself as. Ning Shan was also shocked by her cousin's behavior. She told her father that he was behaving very strangely, but her father told her that everyone who receives a holy mark starts to behave like this. He became adamant that she should not pay attention to him, but rather focus on his self-improvement. She answered her father that he was right. In any case, Ning Shan and Zhuochen were destined to belong to completely different worlds. In order for Johann to go to the middle level, he needs more liquid to clean the cerebral cortex, but 1 bottle of this liquid costs at least 2,000 silver coins. He does not have that much money. He is thinking where to find it. And then he suddenly remembered that he could write down all the martial arts techniques he had read in his past life and then sell them. There are 5 stages in practical skills and martial techniques: human, sacred, spirit, king, and god. And the higher the class of the martial art, the more difficult it is to practice it. The Ming Emperor Empire writing and the dragon and elephant prajna are sacred level items, so he cannot sell them in Kunlun territory, but Zhuochen still remembers some low-grade martial techniques and exercises. But it's all the same, and the low-end techniques will put the whole Yunyu County on its ears. Johann began to understand that martial arts books were not that easy to copy or print, but he still remembered the lowest class saint stage from his past life. But for now, the middle class of this stage is his maximum, what he could achieve. But here they can be considered the best, even for a large family like Lin. The strongest technique is a low-end technique and will consist of 1 or 2 sets, at most, as unique in the family. Zhuochen realized that the book would definitely pay for itself. He left the palace and approached the gate where 2 guards were standing. One of them asked Johann where he was going at such a late hour. Zhuochen replied that he was going to Lin village to see Ning Shan if they could open the gate. When Johann came out, the guard started discussing that if he wasn't the son of the prince of Yunyu County, he would have died a long time ago, and as for Ning Shan, she is the most gifted in the Lin family. She will be betrothed to the 7th prince, and Johann still doesn't give up. He is a real idiot. When the gate closed, Johann put on his cloak and pocketed the spirit stone. He came to the battle market. The battle market was divided into 5 areas, namely, the pharmacy, the weapon shop, the central auction, the animal market and the slave market. To some extent, the battle market recognized all the ups and downs of Yunyu, so the district was very strict with its leaders. only warriors or nobles were allowed to enter there. Johann decided for himself that only at the auction for the book he would be able to get the biggest profit. He met a woman at the entrance. She asked how she could help him. Johann said he was looking for a deacon from the central auction. She replied that she would notify the deacon, but he is usually busy with VIP clients. She said in her mind that whoever this man was, he immediately wanted to meet the abbot after he arrived. He should be taken seriously. She returned with the deacon and led him to Johann. The deacon immediately began to understand who this man was. On it are gilded Chilan shoes, worn only by people from the royal palace. He invited Johann to go with him. The prince graciously agreed. Zoken deliberately put on these boots to impress them, as a low-level sword technique book would be desirable to many people, and Zoken was not strong enough to protect it personally. The chief appraiser was brought to Johann, and he said he wanted to put his treasure up for auction. First, he took his spirit stone in his hand. He then took out a book and revealed that it was a Saint Stage low-grade martial sword technique book. The head appraiser and the auction deacon were impressed that it was really what he said it was, in which case the starting bid for this book would be 200,000 silver coins, but first the buyer would have to confirm that it was indeed low-end tech. If it wasn't, then the auction will be invalid. Zoken agreed that everything would go according to the rules of the auction house. Several hours passed after Johann's conversation with the chief appraiser and auction deacon. A woman, a deacon's assistant, approached him and said that his book had been bought by the head of the Lin family for 1,240,000 silver coins. Now he found out who bought his book. The deacon brought the Lin family to Johann and introduced him as a seller of sacred sword skills. The head of the Lin family immediately saw the gilded Chilan shoes on Zoken and immediately understood that he was an important person in the royal court. He introduced himself as Lin Fong's son, the head of the Lin family, and asked if he could know his name, but Zhuchen replied that there was no need. Here were the short formulas of the holy sword skills, as well as the position picture, and asked Have Fan Sun to confirm them. He's right, these are indeed low-class positions of the Saint Stage. Moreover, these drawings were made by a disciple from the heavenly realm. The foundation of the Lin family will become much stronger with this book. Fan Sun says that this book of techniques is wonderful. It is quite an expensive purchase for their family. He thanked Johann for such a valuable book and added that it was time for them to go. When the Lin family came out, they began to discuss that this boy reminded them of someone. The father said that he must have seen him once in the palace. In any case, he is not an ordinary person, he can be scary. But Ning Shan didn't understand what her father was talking about, but her father said that the drawings were fresh, most likely they were made today. Nevertheless, whoever could write about the holy sword skills must be at the high levels of the heavenly realm. Ning Shan was surprised because even Grandpa had not reached the heavenly realm. She asked her father if he was some kind of important person in the palace. Then would he need so many silver coins? Why did he sell the holy stage sword techniques? Father replied that there are 8 martial arts in the kingdom, but the holy sword skill does not belong to any of them, but they should not dig into it, as they cannot afford to do anything against a person from the heavenly kingdom. Father told Ning Shan that in she is the mark of the holy sword. So she is the one who will practice according to this book. If she can master the first art of martial sword technique, she will definitely be the best in the annual evaluation. Ning Shan completely agreed with her father's words. Everything Johann received from the auction was transferred to the VIP card. He exchanged 20,000 silver coins for spirit crystals and took the remaining 8,000 coins for himself. Johann turned to the young man in the shop. He asked to give him 20 bottles of bone marrow cleansing liquid, also 200 granules of blood pills, some refined powder and energy pills. Johann thought in his mind that the refined powder and energy pills could speed up the self-cultivation process. They expensive, but worth it. Johann remembered that he had also forgotten the regeneration cream. Having taken everything from the store, he quickly returned to the palace. Yun was in the yard. When she saw Johann, she asked why he hadn't gone to bed yet. It was already so late. He gave the concubine the cream he had bought for her and added that it would help her hand heal faster. Yun was happy, but she didn't understand where Johan got the money for her, because even the lowest class of recovery cream costs at least 200 silver coins. Johan told her that he has secrets that he can't tell right now and he hopes that she won't tell mommy. It looks like the 9th prince got a great opportunity. Everyone hopes that he will reach the heights in martial arts in the future. Zhuochen told Yun that he was wondering that his mother was Chairman Lin's sister, so why did she cut all ties with her family, which happened 3 years ago? Yun replied that they hid it from Johan before to protect him because his health was very weak, but since he received his sacred mark, he has the right to know the truth. Yun began to tell Zhuochen that he should remember Lin Chenyu, a genius from the Lin family. He is Zhuochen's cousin and Mother Lin's eldest son. He completed the Yellow region at the age of 17. But 3 years ago, Lin Chenyu insulted an even more exceptional genius, for which cousin Johan had his legs broken and was sent to the heavenly prison. Johan couldn't believe it. How could this happen? The Lin family is considered to be one of the biggest families in Yunyu County, who dared to arrest the great genius of the Lin family. This person must have been even more influential. Yun replied that it was true. The person who insulted Lin Chenyu was the 7th prince, the brightest star of Yunyu County, because compared to him, any person would fade. Now Johan understood everything that had happened in the Lin family. After Chenyu was imprisoned, the head of the Lin family urgently came to the palace and began to plead with Queen Lin for an appeal. If Lin Chenyu could be saved, his family would pay any amount of money. Then they decided to go to the king, but the queen stopped them and they had a dispute. The queen was very angry and ordered Lin to the jury 30 times, but when the search ended the lady was already on the verge of life and death. Johan was very annoyed by what he heard. He did not understand how this could happen, and asked how King Yunyu reacted to it all. He was fine. Yun replied that the 7th prince is the most talented of all the sons. The king loved him very much. The king found out the whole truth that it was Chenyu's fault that he almost killed the 7th prince. The king was very annoyed and thought that the queen did not know how to do the right thing. He did not allow the 7th prince and the queen to be offended. Because of this everyone snapped at his mother, believing that her inability to negotiate was the reason for the loss of the family's genius. After that she was not perceived as a member of the Lin family. Zhuochen asked if Lin Chenyu had been executed. But Yun replied that this was not the case. His Highness the 7th prince did not allow it to happen so easily. Chenyu was brought to the palace and made a eunuch and then sent to slavery. Johan did not understand how the first genius of the Lin family became a eunuch and fell into slavery, which is a great shame for the Lin family. But Yun still doesn't understand how and why the head of the Lin family gave permission for the engagement of the 7th prince and his daughter, after all the humiliations their family went through. Considering the 7th prince's talent, he will definitely become the heir to the throne, and if the Lin family wants to establish a foothold in Yunyu County, then they should restore their relationship with the 7th prince, and an engagement for something like this is the best option. Since the first genius family became a servant of the 7th prince, the relationship between the Lin family and the 7th prince is not quite friendly. Perhaps Lin Chenyu contributed to this engagement. But these are just Johan's guesses, and now he is going to bed and Yun must also return as soon as possible. The opening of the divine battle seal had actually changed His Highness to the 9th prince. If Mother Lin knew about it, she would be very happy. Strength, without it in the modern world you will be simple to no one, you will not achieve anything in this life. Johan is burning that he cannot waste time. He needs to open the 3rd meridian tonight in order to reach the middle of the yellow area. The 9 Divine Emperor Sutra can cultivate 36 meridians. In his past life Johan cultivated 33 meridians and was almost invulnerable among his peers. Now in the world even the strongest Chi Yao only has 31 meridians. If Johan wants to break through to the last stage of the yellow area, he needs to open 3 more meridians. He trained all the time and put all his efforts into it. And he almost managed to do it. He managed to open the 3rd meridian. In order to continue his journey to the final stage of the yellow region, he needed a full supply of qi. He needed qi accumulation pills to restore his qi supply sooner. He took one qi pill and ate it to restore his resources. Zhuochen had only opened 70%, but Dan Qi was unable to fully restore his resource stock. It was good that he still had some silver coins left. If he could improve his cultivation soon, it would be worth spending some amount of money on it. But that's not enough. He still needs a body purification bath to strengthen his body sooner, otherwise he won't be able to make better use of the purified true qi. A few hours passed and Johann climbed into the bath. The powder that cleanses the body was so strong that his skin and flesh seemed to change their shape. But he understood one very important thing. Only when he passes all the tests is it possible to become a man. The time and space stone gives him 3 times more training time, which is his unique advantage. It had only been 9 days in the real world, but a whole month in the spirit stone, and he had reached the full reserve of true qi in the yellow region. It was a true miracle. After cleaning his body with a bath, Johann continued his training. His last sweats were coming off him. Medicinal baths are really effective. Hardening the body also played a big part in its improvement. Today Zoken will be able to prepare for the last stage of the yellow region. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door and said that he had completed the assigned task. Johann opened the door and a happy Yun was standing there. She told him that she had bought all the jewelry that his mother Lin had left behind. Zhuochen was satisfied and said that if his mother decides to pawn her jewelry again in the future, Yun can quietly buy them back, but Yun suggested that he tell his mother the whole truth. If she finds out that he has become a true martial artist, she will be very happy. Johann said that he wanted to surprise her at the end of the annual test. Besides, his current cultivation level is not high enough, he should become stronger, and he also asked the concubine to make sure that he is not disturbed today. She replied that she would to guard the door, and if someone wants to interfere with the 9th prince's training, she will stop him even at the cost of her life, and added that she believes in Johann, he will succeed. The opening of the 4th and 5th meridians was very successful, but the 6th is a little lacking. It is necessary to try. How can he not try? Zhuochen ate another qi restoration pill. After that he felt a great rush of strength. And here she is, the long-awaited goal has been achieved. There was a breakthrough to the final stage of the yellow area. He went outside and saw concubine Yun guarding him so that no one would disturb Johann while he was training. She asked in surprise whether he managed to do everything he had planned. Johann approached the concubine, looked at the sky and exhaled. Calm as a lying elephant, mobile as a wild dragon. Johann began to show the techniques he had learned, the spirit palm of the dragon and the elephant. Then he showed the reception of the other palm. Then a dragon flying in the sky. He could smash everything in his path. Zoken was happy with his achievement. He began to understand that he was no longer that sickly boy. Yun watched all this and admired Johann's skills. She told him that he had finally really succeeded. She even said that he was even more talented in martial arts than His Majesty the 7th Prince. Qingxian Yard is one of the top 3 stores in Dan City. Zhuochen advises everyone to go to this store and see if others can find something there. The old man approached Dokhen and offered him to buy qi accumulation pills. Johann was surprised how he approached him so imperceptibly. He introduced himself as Mo Han Lin, the owner of this shop. Zhuochen asked for 50 qi accumulation pills and 30 body purification pills, but he wasn't sure that Qingxian Pavilion had everything in stock. Mo Hong Lin was very surprised, because an ordinary martial artist could not easily afford qi accumulation pills and body purification pills. Moreover, he needed a very large amount of these pills, which was truly rare. The shopkeeper replied that if Master Chen were in some other shop, he might not have been able to purchase so many pills, but his shop in Qingxian Pavilion had enough to satisfy Master Chen's every wish. Mo Han Lin brought everything Master Chen requested. After calculating the amount for the entire purchase, he announced that the whole thing would cost 80,000 silver coins. The seller added that since Master Chen was buying such a large batch of goods, he would be happy to offer Johann a discount. The total amount with the discount would be 72,000 silver coins. Johann paid for the purchase and said that he would only buy pills from this shop now. Mo Han Lin smiled and asked if he needed anything else. Zoken replied that something else was needed, but this store might not have such a product. The seller immediately understood that he needed a wonderful weapon. Johann wondered how he guessed so easily. They have several pavilions that deal in weapons. That boy will lead Johann. His name is Zhao Zi. Mo Han also asked his assistant to take the owner to the woman and tell her that they value this customer very much and should be given a discount, but his assistant frightenedly said that he would not go to her. Because she is able to take away the souls of men, if he sees her, he will be finished. Mo Han said that since he was still a small boy and if he refused, he would be able to take 0 qi accumulation pills this month. The assistant was scared and agreed that he would guide Master Chen. They said goodbye to Master Mo. He in turn said that he would wait for him again. Zoken asked the assistant if that woman was really so beautiful that she could take away a man's soul. The man on the street said that it was true. This demon woman, she could cause a heart attack with just a look. She was betrothed to 7 bosses. Moreover, all 7 died on their wedding night, and she appropriated all their property. Even Zhao Zi's boss recently worked for her. They approached the city of weapons. The security guard said that he sent a person to this woman to give her information and ask her to wait a little. The woman asked how the buyer was introduced, perhaps Mo Hanlin or the head of the family. It was the owner of Qinxian Municipal Pavilion Qinya. She said that she was a little tired and because of that she would finish work for today. The assistant replied that he was an ordinary teenager, looking 16 or 17 years old. Qinxian Qinya liked it very much. Her tiredness suddenly disappeared and told him to go to the inner hall. Zoken went to the central hall and waited for her. Qinxian Qinya entered the hall and asked if she was mistaken that he was a dear guest, young Master Chen of the Qinxian Pavilion. She asked what kind of weapon he would like to buy. He must already have an idea. Fortunately, his mental strength is quite high, so he is not that easy to seduce. Johann says that he needs a sword of the level of a real battle treasure. Now it was clear why Mo Han Lin wanted to meet him in person. It was surprising that a teenager had such strong mental power. The woman told Zhuchen that since he was an important guest of the Qinxian Pavilion, she would personally take him to the armory and show him all the weapons that were in stock. They went to the armory together. Zhao Zi continued to be nervous, because more than one man who went into the armory alone with the boss's wife did not return alive. He is worried that Mr. Chechen will also be unlucky. Ordinary people use ordinary weapons. Only a martial artist can unlock the full potential of a true martial weapon, based on the class of materials used in the manufacture of the weapon and the number of letters on the weapon of the level of a true martial treasure. The path of a true martial treasure can be divided into 9 classes. The first is the lowest class, and the 9th is the highest. The owner offered Zoken to choose any sword he likes. If there are any questions, to ask her. Zoken thanked him. He stood surprised by what he saw. The 9th prince saw the sword he wanted. This was a sword called Deep Abyss. This sword is very old. It has a history of almost 1,000 years. It is very heavy and extremely sharp. The material is also very special, yet another expert could not find out what it is made of. If this sword had not been damaged, it would have been a true battle attribute, at least of the 7th order, or even higher, but all the inscriptions on the blade were broken. If young Master Chen wanted to buy it, she was willing to sell it for the price of the true treasure of the 1st of order. Johann asked how much it would cost. The owner replied that it would cost 1,000 silver coins. He replied that he was buying it, the same sword that Ziyao had given him 800 years ago. When a person dies with his sword the same thing happens, and since it had to be reborn, the sword was also reborn, a deep abyss. Zhuchen will give the sword to purify his life and to appear again in all its glory. The woman wondered how it was possible that the sword looked better than her. She approached Johann. hugged him and asked if he was only going to buy this broken sword or if he could buy something else. Qin Xian Qinya whispered in Johan's ear, maybe he is interested in something other than the sword. He asked in a panic how much that real battle artifact cost. This soul glow sword is the 4th level of a real battle weapon. There are 14 leaves on its blade, 4 of them are leaves of power, 4 are leaves of ice, another 4 are leaves of electricity, and 2 sheets of light, with 3 attributes, ice, electricity and light. She replied that it was worth 30,000 silver coins. Johan realized that he can't stay alone with this woman anymore. It's quite dangerous. He's worried that he won't last. He made a quick calculation, took his swords and ran away from there. The woman said that he runs fast, but he can't escape from her. She feels that the future will be a lot of fun. Someone poured tea and told the 8th prince to treat himself. His mother and the Red Heaven Master are from the same family, so he will also call this girl sister. This was her first visit to the royal city, so he takes care of her. This is the biggest martial arts store in the whole city. He asked, what exactly interests her? The girl thanked the 8th prince. She told that her name is Xianglin and she came to this city to meet the talented and outstanding people of this city, especially the 7th and 8th prince. The 8th prince said that it was unfortunate that the 7th prince was currently outside the kingdom and was not going to participate in the annual assessment, but he might be able to come back to watch the ceremony. He offered to reserve a seat for her at the ceremony if she wanted to look. Xianglin thanked the 8th prince once more. The 8th prince saw his 9th brother's weapons in the store. He wondered why he was there, if he didn't even train properly, and he also bought weapons. Where did he get the money from? 8th brother hopes that Zhuchen is not going to impersonate a handsome guy for the sake of Qinxian pavilion owner. He warned Zhuchen that if he does something shameful, he will break his legs. The owner of the pavilion said that it was her shop, not the royal palace. She added that the 9th prince was her guest, and if he hit him, she would have to intervene. The 8th prince is puzzled as to why the prince is dishonoring the royal family. Why is the 7th prince the prince of the whole world, and the 9th prince becomes the toy of a lecherous woman of his own free will? Johan did not understand why the two of them looked at him quite strangely. He quickly left the store. The owner shouted after him to come to her from time to time. She takes care of him. If he needs additional resources, then he should not be shy, but go to his landlady. 800 years have passed, many things have changed, things have become different, and now the ancient sword no longer possesses its former sharpness. To restore the leaves and the power of the sword itself, it will be necessary to take it to a blacksmith of at least the 5th level, but is there such a blacksmith in Yunyu County? Even if this sword turns into a pile of scrap metal, Zhuchen should take it with him as a reminder that he has become stronger, so he can take revenge on Qi Yao. He also became very curious about the effect of the other sword bought at the municipal pavilion. The leaves of power were activated and the soul glow sword became almost 50 kilograms heavier. It is very heavy. Johan cannot control it, but if he learns to summon the 4 leaves of power and skillfully use them, then his power will not be unimaginably great. He has a problem. He can't activate the 2nd leaf, because he has very little true qi. He needs to use other attributes of the leaves. First, he managed to activate the sheets of ice. He then activated the sheets of electricity. He even managed to activate the sheets of light. The 30,000 silver coins were not wasted. He must hurry up his training and activate all 14 letters as soon as possible, so he can use the potential of the 4th level true battle weapon to the fullest. 2000 passed in the Jade Palace. The 8th prince continued to train and improve himself. Finally, he broke through to the small stage of the yellow region. His mother, Lady Xiao, said that even now his cultivation cannot be compared to the level of other princes. When his father sees his progress, he will definitely reward him. The 8th prince said that in any case some had already hit rock bottom. His presence made him look even better. Mother realized he was talking about the 9th prince. He had just recently received his holy mark. Maybe he hadn't yet even the level of clearing the cerebral cortex and the pulse. Most likely he will not participate in the annual assessment. The eighth prince said that it was not up to him to decide whether to participate in the annual evaluation or not. Everyone came to the Lin family martial arts arena. The daughter of the Lin family continued to train. She practiced the heavenly heart control technique. Finally she managed to do it. Her family stood and rejoiced that she was the daughter of heaven itself. Their family was in safe hands. Father said that her talent in the art of swordsmanship amazes him. He has never seen such a strange talent in anyone. In less than 3 months she managed to master the sword technique at the spiritual level. Now she will be the brightest star in the upcoming annual competition. She replied that it was because of her long-term cultivation of the heart-directing sword that she was able to learn this technique so quickly. There are only 10 young geniuses in the city who have managed to reach the level of the sword directing the heart by the age of 20, and she is only 15 years old. She has endless possibilities, so let her train longer and reach the highest heights. She agreed with her father and continued training. At the same time, Johann was training in the palace. He says that he has already cultivated in the spiritual stone space for almost 6 months. His chi reserves are full, and his physical characteristics have reached their limit, although it is still not the finish line for him. It's time to start mastering the small stage of the yellow area. He is now physically much weaker than in his past life, but after such a long climax, he can easily open the 11th meridian in the small stage of the yellow region. He took a swig of the restorative liquid. Zoken felt a great rush of strength. Finally, he broke through to the small stage of the yellow region. It is necessary to check what he is capable of now, because he does not know how strong he has become now. Several days passed. Johann came deep into the mountains of the royal palace. He tried the barbaric elephant gallop technique. For this you need to direct all your strength to your hands. Not bad. The explosive power of this hand is equivalent to the power of 8 bulls. Need to test the sword technique again. His current supply of true chi is almost enough to activate 2 sheets at the same time. First, he activated the letter of power and control of Nei's heart. He performed a reception of the heart-sucking stroke of heaven. He managed to do this trick very well. This technique can only be performed when the sword is following your heart. It must be that Johann is already close to the heart area of the sword. If this technique is performed on people, then their eyes will creep up on their foreheads from surprise. He wants to try something else, a defensive sword technique. He tried the sword heart-ringing technique. This technique is enough to defend against the entire arsenal of a yellow region martial artist. To hone these techniques, you need to practice here before the annual assessment itself. The next day Johann went out to the palace courtyard and met concubine Yun. He asked her if there was an assessment today. She said yes. She warned him to be careful. There are rumors that the 8th prince has broken into the small stage of the yellow region. He will definitely be targeting Johann. Zhuochen had discovered the secret of concubine Yun. In fact, he had also broken through to the small stage of the yellow region, but so far he had only discovered 11 meridians, so he still had a lot of work ahead of him, but there was very little time left. She was surprised, because only true geniuses can open the 8 meridians of the small stage of the yellow region. Even the 7th prince only opened 10 meridians, and it was enough for him to get true glory. She will help the 9th prince to keep the secret, but she warned him to be very careful. Johann reassured her and said that he would be careful. Yun told Johann that she would help him change into royal clothes and then he could go to the martial arts arena on the royal mountain. Johann asked if her mother would watch the annual evaluation. Yun said that she would, but she didn't know that Johann would also participate in the annual evaluation. She would be very happy if she could see Johann become a martial artist. Yun complimented Johann, saying that he was indeed more like a prince than any other prince. Gathering himself, Johann went out into the courtyard and told Yun that they were going to the royal battle arena. If you have watched up to this point, then I am very grateful to you, because this is where the video ends. If it's not difficult for you, then like this video and subscribe to my channel. And if you want to continue this story, then write in the comments. Thank you all, I love you all.